Lee, you've had a chance to reset over the Christmas period, and given the injuries in the squad, it's probably not the worst thing in the last 10 days or so.
No, it's been nice having that little bit of a break between and allowing one or two bumps and bruises to hopefully come back into it. But ultimately, we are where we are. We've still got our issues to deal with in relation to picking a team at the moment. But other teams have had it, like I've said before. I don't really want to make an excuse. We deal with it. We've had to put some square pegs in round holes to get a starting 11 out there. And on the back of that, we're off the back of a couple of sore results. But we'll dust ourselves down. We're looking forward to the Morton game now. Dougie's had a fantastic year in charge. Got them challenging, and rightly so, up near the top of the league. And we've had 3 great games against them so far this season already.
And it probably says much about the progress, doesn't it? That this is the first, after 2 defeats, this is the first tricky period of the season, if you want to call it that. It's much about the progress made. Yeah, and it's not always down to poor form. We were disappointed against Dundee, I get that. But there is reasons. You can see that we are sort of trying to piece together a back line. And with that brings its ups and downs. I mean, Finn broke in and was absolutely outstanding against Wraith, and then as a team we had a tough time at Partick. We've asked David to come in and do a job at right back to try and get that right foot balance on that side, and again obviously he's ended up coming off the park a little bit earlier than we would have hoped. So these are the decisions you have to make sometimes to try and get a result, and they went against us, so that's up to me. I'll hold my hands up for that, and we just have to learn from it and push on and enjoy the game up at Cappielow. In terms of January, is your hand likely to be forced more than it would because of the injury situation, or are you quite comfortable with guys going back? Not
necessarily. I'm hoping that during the month of January we'll be getting players back, so there'll be like 3 or 4 brand new signings again to get us back on track. And again in January we've got a budget to work towards. We're basically at that budget, so if there's anything done, it'll be a bit of player trading. It'll be 1 in, 1 out, that type of scenario. And again, we've got 4 loan players who we're going to have to be on our toes for, just in case their parent clubs decide to take them back. So that'll be a reactive move rather than a proactive move in relation to any moves that the parent clubs might decide to do with those 4 loan players.
Now, a couple of people on the internet and websites have been asking questions about Frankie Musonda. Yeah. How's he getting on at this moment?
Frankie's moving on. He's still not back on the grass yet. We're probably looking towards Arbroath, but more realistically Cove. I think for Frankie, he's certainly pain-free now, but he's doing a lot of work in the gym as it stands at the moment, building up the muscle area around the injury. But the sooner we can get him back on the grass, the better. He almost came back at one point, but then re-injured again, the same one, which knocked him back. So we're probably being a little bit more tentative with him this second time round.
And you're talking about that rebalancing the defence there. You've also had Jordan Houston out. What's the situation with him?
Jordan's a lot closer than Frankie. We're hoping possibly the Hamilton game might be one too early, but we're hoping he's back in training that week, and we're hoping Jordan will be back available for selection for Arbroath. Well, that's the target as it stands at the moment, but obviously things can change day to day. But he's certainly progressing. He's out there running on the pitch now with the physios and with the fitness guys. Not quite joined in training yet, but we're hoping that he's heading in the right direction for that side of things.
Now, you have been saying that this is a tough game to look forward to as well. So how have the squad reacted? They know that you've said they had a couple of games in the bounce there where they've not got the results they wanted. You've brought them in after Christmas. You've been working them hard. So how have they reacted?
They've reacted well. They've reacted exactly the way I thought they would have done. They're a really good group of players with the right type of character. I think they also understand that we are sort of putting round pegs in square holes, as I said. So they're fully aware that they haven't played up to standard in the last 2 games as a group, as individuals, and they can play better than that. But we also are aware that, or I am aware, and the coaching staff are aware, that we weren't going to go through the full season playing every game brilliantly as we have done up to this point. So yeah, this is a blip. That's all it is. We'll get on with it, and the aim is to try and take 3 points from Morton.
It'll be obviously Morton on Monday night. I'm going to say Saturday, Monday. very tough opponents, as we've seen previously in the games against them, always very physical tests. Does that factor into your team selection at all?
No, not any way whatsoever. Just try to put out the boys that are fit. that's the way forward at the moment, and trying to get a team that can test Morton, can withstand. Every team's got strengths and weaknesses. We do, they do. We'll try and aim for whatever small weaknesses that Morton might have. They'll aim to try and benefit from our weaknesses, whether that be personnel issues at the moment or other areas that maybe Andy and Dougie have maybe identified from us. So yeah, we'll go up there. We'll try. We have to match them physically first and foremost. We have to make it a battle, but you're hoping that your big players come to the fore and just give you that little spark, as I'm sure Dougie wants his from his big players at the top end of the park as well.
Now, let's go into a different mindset here. We were just looking at it, and I think we've from today we are 1 week short of it being the first anniversary of you coming to United. This time last year, what was happening and how were you feeling?
I was going to say, but I've not got exact dates, but I probably would have been round about now that I would have got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and driven up to the chairman's offices in Prestwick and had an interview with the board and Graham. So that would have been the initial contact. They contacted Sheffield Wednesday first, obviously, and then the phone call, and then I was in the car driving up. So it would have been round about this time I had that interview. I would have been almost finishing up now, probably just about to get in the car to drive all the way back down the road and then just wait to hear if anything positive was to come of it. It took 2 or 3 days before any sort of information. No, it was probably about a week. Probably took about a week. Because there was other lads, obviously, they had to interview, had to discuss, had to make decisions on and everything like that. Yeah, but it took about a week to come through. Got the phone call, got the job, so I was in the car within 2 hours and up the road and into training at Irvine 24 hours before the Arbroath game.
And not a bad first result.
It wasn't a bad first result. To beat the team at the top of the league who were flying high and really causing big problems. Listen, don't get me wrong, we were hanging on for dear life come the end of the game. But yeah, it wasn't an ideal scenario, obviously. I come up, meet Tam, and I knew Stilly from before, having played with him at Dunfermline. First time I'd met Timo. Davy White was off with COVID. They had just had a great result the week before against Raith Rovers. So the players had obviously had a great lift for that. A lot of the work had been done by the coaching staff up to that point. So I just stepped in and took all the plaudits for all their hard work, basically.
Lee, the Championship's obviously a crazy league, as you've got to know, but if you've been told that 12 months down the line you would have been up the top of the league competing, would that have been beyond your wildest expectations? Absolutely. I mean, if we were sitting sort of comfortably in mid-table at the moment, a few points between us and those dangerous areas at the bottom of the league, then I think we'd all have been relatively happy in the progress that had been made. As you say, move on that 12 months now, and with Dundee's game in hand, potentially 5 points off the top of the league, I think most people would have snapped their hand off at this period. I think it's a reality check because, as with anybody, supporters, staff, players, the better you do and the more greedy you become. And the fact that we've been at the top of the league for such a long time, I mean top of the league for such a long time, and then to lose the last 2 games and drop down to third and now have a bit of a gap to catch up on the teams above us, then it almost feels a little bit of a failure. But again, when you look at where we've been and where we are now, then in the club in general, that's on the park, and then the amount of work that's been done off the park as well, it's a phenomenal step forward that Ayr United has taken in the last 12 months, 18 months, whatever the chairman since he's been in charge. It's amazing.
Just about that is, I read your first interview, I think it was with Stuart there, and also a video interview with you as well, and you talked about this plan. You needed a plan that was going to be one that you could deal with. How has that gone so far?
Beyond my wildest dreams. Ultimately, the most important thing for me was that there was a clear strategy from the owner and Graham in relation to the budget we're working to, the financial pond we were fishing in relation to recruitment, Having Keith involved was very, very important as well. There's a lot of the legwork from that side of things. We knew that when it came to recruitment that we would have to gamble a little bit, take a couple of chances here and there. Luckily enough, I would say 80–90% of the signings were made have been, I would say, successful. Even though the lads that came in short term last year and have since left at the end of last season, they were a massive success because they got us what we wanted, and that was survival in the Championship. Your Ryan Gondos and your Alex Kent, who else? Big Marcus has come and gone. All these type of guys that played a big, big part last year. They were the foundations of this journey that I've been on at Ayr United Football Club, and they deserve a lot of praise and credit. Obviously this year we've brought in more players, we've bedded them in, we've hit the ground running, and we've got off to a really, really unexpectedly good start from where we are. But as I say, we get greedy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, so 12 months in charge, what have been your highlights in those 12 months?
2-1 win at Killie. Winning 5-0 with a team, average age of a team at 22.8 years old. Bursting a couple of hoodoos, I think, away at Inverness, and then, what was the other one? There was another one, can't remember, that we hadn't done for a long time. Might have been Killie, I'm not sure. There was a couple of hoodoos that we had burst. Taking Ayr United to the top of the Championship. Tell you what, there's a hell of a lot more highlights than downlights, put it that way. We're going through a wee disappointing spell at the moment, but the highlights far outweigh the negatives in the last 12 months as far as I'm concerned.
And what have you learned about yourself as a manager, Lee? Because obviously this is your first, proper management gig. As a person more than anything, have you learned anything?
I think it's just adjusting to the day-to-day turbulent side of it. See, when you're an assistant coach or something like that, you just focus on what's going to happen on the training ground that day, there and then. And ultimately, I knew, because having gone through your badges and things like that, and I knew the different facets that a manager has to incorporate. And obviously I had the short spells in charge down at Sheffield Wednesday. There was a little bit, but it's a completely different kettle of fish when you're your own man and you're making decisions which impact your staff, which impact your players, and ultimately impact the fan base and the ownership model. Managing up the way, so important, and building those relationships with your board and your chairman and your chief exec, and trying to portray the right sort of image outwardly to the people of Ayr in general, and the role that you hold within a football club is such an important thing within the community. And I think taking the time and making the effort to go out and watch the ladies team and watch the academy teams and things like that, I think you don't necessarily get the pats on the back, but people notice, definitely. And bizarrely, my own sort of family situation has allowed me to do more of that, but given the circumstances that my family is down the road. If my kids were up here and everything like that, then you're sort of nipping back for training, and Sundays spending time with the kids, going to the park and things like that, instead of going to watch maybe under 18s, under 14s, under 13s, women's games, things like that. So perversely, that's been a positive as much as a negative from my own personal point of view,
And Stuart mentioned just there about the transition from a big club like Sheffield Wednesday to come up north to United. How did you find that transition at first, and was it easy to settle in?
You know what, I didn't find it as big an issue as people would have maybe thought. I've always played at relatively smaller clubs in your Dunfermlines and Falkirks and that, in comparison to the big hitters in Hearts, Hibs, Rangers, Celtic, that type of thing. So every club I've been at has had their fires to fight in relation to facilities, in relation to staffing numbers, in relation to what actual equipment and things like that we may have. So coming into Ayr United and initially trying to find a solid training base, trying to get GPS bits and pieces in place, trying to put together a multidisciplinary team in relation to the physio, the fitness coach, the strength and conditioning, the video analyst and everything like that. These were all great things that didn't daunt me, but I've had brilliant support from the coaching staff, brilliant support for Graham, brilliant support for the chairman to put these things in place, because I think they all saw the bigger picture in relation to how can we improve Ayr United just in small steps. We don't need a chairman to come in and say, there's 2 million, there you go, have a go at it, because 9 times out of 10 you fall on your backside and really fail badly from that side of things. So we're in it for the long haul, not the short haul, not a boom and bust scenario. And I think the buy-in from us all in relation to that, myself, getting the players to buy into it, the staff, and then obviously Graham and the chairman, is getting that buy-in to see the bigger picture and the bigger journey has been the most important thing to make this a lot easier than I would have liked.
And you'd obviously played at the likes of Dunfermline in your playing career in Scotland, but when you came up to be the manager of United, did you perhaps underestimate the level of support from the fans?
Yeah, I did. As I say, I'd played here a couple of times in Scottish Cup and lost both times, so I knew the support was strong. I had the joys of playing junior football in Ayrshire a couple of times, so I know the mentality of an Ayrshire football fan is very, very strong. But I was really surprised at how supportive they were, given the fact that we had been struggling at the bottom of the league for so long. We had played 11 out the last 18 years in the league below. I thought there might have been an apathy. I thought there might have been a real sort of, almost like a resentment towards the club, just a boredom. But no, I think they bought into exactly what the chairman's tried to do. And I think there was maybe a little bit negativity towards the hub initially, but this really sort of, chairman talked the talk and he's walked the walk and putting this in. And once they actually saw the facility, they thought, hang on a minute, there's something quite good going on here. And then obviously the form of the team to the second half of last season was mid-table, comfortably mid-table. So they thought, the shoots of green coming through here. And then obviously the start to this season has given everybody a bit of a lift. And as I say, that greed's gone through the roof a little bit. I get that. And we have to temper that as a club, as a support base. But we shouldn't fear it. We should just grab it with both hands, because we've got a massive opportunity this season, as another 4 or 5 clubs have at the moment. I'm sure there's teams slightly below that halfway point that think they can put a good run together to finish the season well as well. So, listen, it's a tough league. We're looking forward to it. So, the new year starts at Cappielow.
I remember the Vision Night, which was in here a few months back there, and there was a lot of things you said, all three of you who were there. I think it was the chairman, it was Graham Matthew as well, and yourself, were talking about the need for people in the local area to buy in. You were going to try and do things for the local community as well. You wanted them to buy in. And the state it's at the moment is the sales in the shop have gone through the roof compared to what they used to be. I think there's 44% increase in the average home support. And season tickets have gone up. Are they doing their part?
It goes without saying they're doing their part. And I've just talked at length here about what we are doing on the park, and that's just a small part of any football club. A big part of it is the people that you see day in, day out in that shop, working in a pop-up shop down in Ayr Central. The cleaners that walk about here, the chefs and cooks, the match day over the other side there in the boxes and everything like that, the people that work behind the bar, the admin staff, that's just a massive part. But everybody seems to be buying into it. Everybody seems to be buying into it, which is filtering through to the fan base, and they're putting their money where their mouth is in relation to obviously spending more money on the season tickets, on the merchandise. They're proud to wear the shirt walking about in Ayr Town Centre now. Initially I came in and there was very few. There was obviously Rangers Celtic. You see some teams from down south, but I see more and more Ayr hats, Ayr scarves, Ayr jackets, Ayr tops, and surely that's a positive. Surely that's a positive. It's brilliant. So on that note, I think it's important to, from myself and from all the staff at the football club, I think it's important to wish everybody a really happy New Year. Merry Christmas, obviously, belatedly, but wish everybody a really happy New Year and stick with the boys for the rest of the season, and let's see where this journey takes us.